What's good, everybody?
Yeah,
we are
sir.
back. We are back, episode 2. We want to welcome you all for tuning in. First, before we dive into the episode, I want to welcome all the athletes that are here. I want to welcome all the non-athletes that are here. I want to welcome who?
The NARPs.
Oh. I want to welcome the believers that are here, and I want to welcome the non-believers that are here. We appreciate you for tuning in to us and going on this journey with us. So welcome to episode 2.
Yes, sir.
Daniel, welcome to episode 2.
And for the folks that was in episode 1, y'all saw the little mess up we had.
We're better.
We gonna be better today. I'm telling y'all.
Better.
Episode 2,
We're
we gonna be good. We got it locked in. So yeah, let's get this thing.
Let's get into
bro.
it. This episode, man, I think it's gonna be a good one because, in my opinion, I think this is one of the biggest hurdles. No pun intended. I think this is one of the biggest hurdles that athletes face.
For sure.
Is navigating or walking in their faith on the field versus off the field.
Yeah.
And some of the challenges, some of the things that, we naturally do or fall into. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I wanted you to kick us off and man, I guess, do you share that same sentiment as me as man, this is one of the biggest challenges that athletes face is walking in their faith on and off the field?
Yes, I'll start with yes, but I won't say why until later on because I feel like that's just going to sum everything up.
All right.
I definitely do think it's a struggle for a lot of Christian athletes, just over the span of the recent sports being televised and social media. I feel like a lot of those things make it harder because at that point, athletes are now celebrities. You're not just a good athlete just because you're a good athlete. Now people look up to you and all these things. Now the media and everything is pushing you to say things and support things, and it's a lot that goes into it now. But I don't know. I feel like as far as on the field, I feel like you see it pretty often now. It's more popular now to be kind of more open with your faith, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would agree to that. It's more. It's more.
I don't know if popular is the word, but it's just more.
People,
I guess more
people
accepted.
It's more accepted.
Yeah,
it's more accepted to speak out and be like, "Hey, I am a believer." And honestly, I feel like the reason why it's popular. I mean, whether this is good or bad, it's almost like it's a brand now.
Oh yeah.
You're kind of building your brand, where it's man, I could, I think about a lot of, Christian clothing companies that are out there, and it's
very true.
I want to invest in, it's like you're a product, but that could be a good thing though.
I was gonna say at the same time though, I feel like you also see a lot of athletes, if you follow them in on socials or whatever, YouTube, you see they're out there on the field and they're taking a knee before the game, praying, or I don't know, pointing up to God during the game. Right. But you follow them on socials, and the rest of the week they look like they not living that lifestyle at all.
Right.
So it really goes both ways.
That is very
both
true.
ways. Some people try to show it on the field and then just live a regular life off the field.
Right.
But also, I feel like a lot of people struggle with actually living it off the field. But then once they get around their team and get in the spotlight, they have that, I guess, just being timid and trying to express their faith.
It's crazy. It's crazy because this is now it's two different perspectives that we have. Because I think in my experience of what I've seen, in a way, it's been the other way around.
Which
where
way?
It's off the field or off the court, they do I guess people do a good job, and I mean, I feel like in certain times I was a part of this, something like that.
Yeah.
But off the court, I'm good. In a way where it's I'm not with the team anymore.
Yeah.
I can do my own thing. But then when you get to your team, what I don't know, track is different. Individualized sports are a little bit different. But when you get back at that environment, it's, I'm starting to say the same jokes. I'm starting to want to do the same things.
Laugh at the same things.
So in a way, it's like on the field or on the court, I've seen it where it's like, or with your team, it's kind of like.
Yeah, no, I definitely.
But then off, you're like, man, I know you're this type of way. You're this type of person off the field.
Yeah, you would never say something like that, like outside of this situation, outside of the sports, the locker room, or something like that.
So it's like both sides. It's both sides of the coin.
It is,
where
for
it's,
sure.
But that's what I've seen, or
it definitely is. I mean, I 100% agree with that side of it as well. It's just like, I feel like what's happening in those moments for like the people that's doing it, like the Christian athlete that's trying to live right, but they find themselves always going back to that situation where they're acting different around their teammates or whatever it may be. At that moment in time, they're letting their mind switch from striving or trying to please God to trying to please their friends. They're trying to look good to their friends instead of looking good to God. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Instead of staying locked in on that mindset and always being here with it, that's when we start letting the pride take over the ego and trying to like, oh, I want to look good to my friends. I want to look good to the coaches, the people I'm around here. Yeah.
I think, and the reason why I think it's a little bit of why I make the statement of like, I think it's one of the biggest, not the biggest, but it's one of the hurdles, the main hurdles that athletes struggle with is because they're typically, I mean, it's very rare that you have a team where there's more believers on that team than there are non-believers.
Very true.
And
very true.
if we know anything about peer pressure, peer pressure low-key undefeated.
I'm weak.
Peer pressure be undefeated. Peer pressure be undefeated sometimes. But then also, but I want people, like, when people say peer pressure, it's always like a negative connotation. But peer pressure can also be positive. It can be positive too, yeah. Like, sure. I can peer pressure you into coming to church with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can, and then that's where it's like sharing your faith and stuff like that. But I think one of the things, like I said, is one of the bigger hurdles is because, like, when I was on the team, like, I was a believer on my team, but most of the guys weren't.
Yeah.
And you start, people say all the time, you can't do Christianity, the walk of Christianity by yourself. You can't be a lone ranger. Yeah. And that is true.
It is.
Like, you could, it's hard. I
mean, I guess it's possible, but it's going to be a whole lot harder than it need to be.
I would not guarantee it. I would not give that piece of advice to somebody. Like, go ahead and,
go off on your own, try to do this by yourself.
Because what I realized, like, when I was with the team, like, it was a moment, like, weeks or something like that. I was like, dang. And I'm not saying I was better than them. Yeah. It was just like, man, I'm starting to think like them, like, in a way, it's like the desires that they have. Yeah. I'm like, there's that, the temptation is more stronger to go do what they want to do, what they seem fun and pleasurable and stuff like that. And then, you find yourself in that moment, you go like, oh, wait, hold on. Like, I need, like,
what am I doing?
Luckily, I feel like that's the Holy Spirit, like, living inside of you, going like, hey, warning.
The crazy part about that, though, I feel like that whole instance that you just mentioned, at the same time, really is like biblical, because the Bible talks about like having that community, right? And it says that for a reason, because it can go the opposite way. But in the same way, if you have a community of believers around you, they can stop you from, or point you in the right direction when they see you kind of going off a little bit, or you getting a little bit of pride, as deterring some of your decisions. The same way a team can take you in a negative way, not always, I'm saying a team for the example, but the same way you be in the locker room with your boys or girls can lead you in a different direction, different mindset, start talking like them. The same thing is true if you have godly community around you, spending time with them. Yeah. You start talking like them, you start thinking the way they think. Right. So it's really just how you view it at the end of the day. Right. Like, if your time spent in the locker room or around your team is what's most important to you in your life, then it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be a struggle for you to live the life the right way, because everything that they're doing, everything they're saying, is completely opposite of the way you're trying to live, the way that Jesus wants us to live. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that is very true. That community part it's a big deal.
It is, bro. And then what even now I'm thinking about it more, being in an individual sport, like that junk alone can be hard sometimes, because like you don't have no team. Like you just gotta you gotta have it up here, bro. Either you got it or not. I mean, you build team in different ways, like your coach, family, your trainers.
People you train
you
with.
build like a community that way, but it's different than having a team that you're dying with, like you're going to war with. And it's just something so beautiful about team sports that can teach so much biblical truth. Obviously, it's not always gonna produce the right results because they're not using it in the right way. But if you look at the principles around team sports, it's such a beautiful thing when you have the leadership, you have the group, the community, one common goal. Like those things are all biblical things that you hear about in the Bible, for real.
100%. I mean, even we talk about team sports, and like for those that don't play sports, it's like it still applies to your workspace, you know.
The workplace, yeah.
Like, man, you go to work with these guys and gals every day.
Yeah.
You have a common goal, whether that common goal be to boost the business or, you know, help people in the hospital or whatever, healthcare or anything like that. Like, there's a common goal, and it's like, man, I got to work with you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so like in a way, it's like you find yourself on a team that in that setting that ain't like that's not believer, it's still gonna be hard.
Yeah,
it's just very true. It's just the difference is we're playing basketball.
Yeah,
you're running track. You're doing.
You trying to save somebody's life.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just like you plug and play, and I love that. Like, man, team sports really does allow you to. There's just so many different ways you can. Like, there's so many principles that you can take 100%. From playing a team sport. How to work 100%. With somebody, how to,
for sure,
you know, well, this person is a great influencer, a great leader, right? But they might not be, they might be leading you astray,
the wrong way,
the wrong way,
100%.
You know, and then like just trying to navigate, you know, that and you know, having a culture of just a good community of people that love you and care for you. You know, hopefully that's what everybody has. Yeah, for real. But if you find yourself not in that, I want to encourage you, try to be the change.
For sure. No, I mean, that you
try
have
to be the leader.
Be the anomaly, bro. You got it. Like, that's why we here. That's exactly why we're here, because we know that it's not the norm for every athlete or anyone in their sphere of influence to just have a plethora of Christians to, you know, commune with or just hang out with on a day-to-day basis. Right. Unfortunately, that's not the norm, especially in sports. So that's exactly what we want to be. Well, a starting point, obviously, we want you guys to build your own communities that are right there and you can touch and hug and agree and pray. But start here with us and just branch out. Some of y'all might be in the same place watching these videos and you don't even know. So there's a lot that can go into it. But I feel like this is really what this is about, like the community part of it, for real. Right.
I want to add another reason why I think this might be it's not going to be a left turn, but I guess more like in a more serious, I don't want to be preachery.
Oh, you good, bro?
But,
go ahead, preach, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead, preach.
But, like, I think another reason why I think this is a topic, like faith on the field versus faith off the field, is I feel like there's a little bit of like, it's kind of two things. There's a little bit of like, you're ashamed of being a believer, you know, so it makes me hide a little bit. Yeah. That, and then also, I mean, if I'm being honest, I got to ask the question, are you even a believer to begin with? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because you really believe the way you think you believe? Right.
You know, because I think about Romans 1:16. Yeah. You know, I'm Lecrae, KB, all them. 16. You know, it says like, "For I am ashamed of the gospel because it is the power of God of salvation to everyone who believes, first the Jew and also to the Greek. But it's like that. It's that first, first couple of words for I'm not ashamed of the gospel.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, if you are living a gospel-centered life off the court, but then you're not living that on the court, and we talk about what that looks like and stuff like that, but like just at the basic root of it, it's like, man, if you're switching who you are, then I have to
something's missing.
I got to ask the question.
No, 100%.
And you should ask yourself. I ask myself the question. It's like, man, one, am I ashamed of being a believer? That's number one. Are people gonna think something of me? So we gotta navigate that. We gotta operate in that. And if you sit there and say, yes, you are ashamed, then it's like, well, maybe we gotta unpack that too.
Yeah, for sure.
But then it's like, if you sit there and say, no, I'm not ashamed. Then it's like, okay, then why aren't you, like, why does this look different when you're on the court, off the court, however you want to say it?
Yeah.
Why are you switching?
What's the switch up?
Yeah, what's the switch up? And then that's where it's like, the more root of it, like the more serious is like, man, are you really about this?
Yeah. Is this really what you like rocking with?
You know what I'm saying?
It don't look like it sometimes.
Cause like, I mean, I understand that sometimes you get nervous, you get scared, like, man, what are people gonna think of me? But it's like, man, if you're playing for the audience of one, and Jesus, he died on the cross, stripped and beaten and bruised. It's like, man, he wasn't ashamed to die on the cross for you.
Yeah, sure wasn't. But the root of that, at the end of the day, you got to look at the root of when you make them decisions. You are going from, like you said, you're going from the audience of one, you pleasing God, to now, instead of worshiping God and worrying about him, now you're worrying about you. That goes back to the selfishness, the pride, which is the root of all of that junk that's going on. So if I guess the easiest way to check where you are is look at, I guess, your heart. Are you focused on how you feel, how you're going to look to your friends, or how your friends are going to think about you? Or are you focused on God and what he thinks about you and he wants for you and he asks of you at the end of the day?
Yeah, that's good. It's the audience. It's the audience of one.
Audience of one, but I got that thing tatted on me right there.
Yeah, and it's. I'm not saying it's an easy thing, because it's not.
Yeah, it's not easy, and we all fall short. I'm not saying that I've never ever like conformed ever.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But I'm saying I know now. I have the wisdom now to help me walk in a certain way to where I don't put myself in those situations that I even have to conform. If that makes sense,
Yeah, because I would say I'm not saying like I don't care what people think about me, because I mean, come on now, we're like, obviously everybody cares about what they think about them, but I think it's like it's working through that. Like I know as a kid, I tell the story all the time, like something like it's like I don't care what people think about me, because I feel like as a kid I was so worried about, I was 136 pounds in the middle school. Yeah, and I was like, I'm the biggest kid. Yeah. I was like, dang, man, like I didn't want to take my shirt off. I didn't want to do, because I'm like, bro, they're going to laugh at me. They're going to think something about me or whatever. Yeah. So struggling with that, but then it got to a point where it just, in a way I just kind of accepted, like, man, I'm this size. It's not like I'm fat. Yeah, like just bigger. It's not like I'm unhealthy. It was just like, I'm just a big kid. Like God made me to be just a big kid.
You're just big.
Like I'm just a big kid. And then it went from like I would wear socks all the way up to my knees. Yeah, and people would come up and be like, "Oh, why are you wearing socks?" Like, and they would like put it down. I'm like, man, I'm doing, like, I want to do this.
You built different.
But I think it helped me get to the point where it's like, man, like this is like wearing socks all the way up to my knees, not sinful. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's like, man, I was doing the things that made me who I was, and I was okay with that. And if other people had a problem with it, did it hurt sometimes inside?
Yeah,
I'm like,
sure.
dang. But then I'm like, man, this is who I am. I'm just gonna accept it, and like I'm gonna roll with it. So I think that kind of gave me a callus to now. It's like, man, why do you do that? Or why do you do this? And it's like, well, it's just like,
it really don't matter what they think.
It's just
for real.
It's like, man, God made me this way. Yeah. Like people laugh about the size of my shoes. I wear a size 18. Okay, the amount of jokes that I hear.
I already know, bro. I already know.
But then I'm sitting there, I'm like, man,
Especially
you know
middle
what?
school.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, you know what? There's nothing that I can
Yeah.
do about that. Like that's
Literally.
how God made my foot. So
Yeah.
if you gonna laugh at my like, I'm joking, obviously, but it's like if you gonna laugh at my foot, don't make you making a joke about the Creator. You say you making fun of him.
Between you and him.
You making fun
That
of
ain't
him.
got nothing to do with me.
I ain't got nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But so I say all that to say it's like, man, you know, like working through that, like it takes time to work through really having the audience of one. It's not just an overnight thing. Like you really have to work on it. You really have to like sit there and be like, man, who am I? How has God made me? And am I okay with that?
Yeah.
You know, and walking in that.
No, I agree. I feel like I don't know. Let's progress to. Well, we kind of been talking about both, but let's focus on off the field now. Off the field. And honestly, I'm just gonna go to what I was gonna talk about before because it really kind of I feel like it kind of wraps everything up.
Yeah.
To me personally, what I've come in my personal walk, I've gotten to the point where I don't even think of it as two separate things anymore. Like I'm just a Christian. Like it's just my faith.
That's good.
And
That's good.
me, I just happen to be blessed and to be very fast, and I just run track. So it's not like I have to switch up something because it's not an act. It's just who I am.
That's who you are.
That's just my faith. Like I'm created to worship God, no matter if I was running track or not.
That's good.
You know, so if you can get to the point where it's not two separate things anymore, it's just you are a believer of Jesus Christ at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And everything you do, you're going to worship him. Obviously, a lot of you are athletes, but even if you're not, whatever you're doing, that means if you confess that Jesus Christ is your Savior, that means you're going to dedicate your life to serving him and worshiping him. So if you can do that, then this whole topic is answered. Like that's it right there.
No, that's good. That's good. Trying to making it the same.
Yeah, it's not. There's nothing to change. Like if you're representing God well off the field, you can do that same thing on the field. If you really in your heart believe that and desire to worship him with your life, because that's also another step you have to go to in your faith. Because you can be a Christian and not be there yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because that's still something that God's working in me, and I feel like I'm just now stepping into that. But it's just a decision you have to make. Like either you're gonna live for God at the end of the day, like no matter if you're sports or not.
Yeah.
Are you gonna live for God? Like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Dang. Yeah. I mean that's a big question though.
It is a huge question.
It's
100%.
It's a loaded question. You know, and I think like we sit here talking about the root of it and stuff like that, but it's like I feel like you got to deal with the root of things before you get to the other stuff, because from the root that's where stuff grows. Yeah, you know. So I definitely I like that. I like that. Like so I'm not splitting it up. So it's like don't think about it as like, okay, I'm going into the office today. Yeah, but it's like
you just living life, bro.
Yeah.
It's just a part
it's just
of
like,
life,
I gotta go. I go to the grocery store, you know. But it's like, who am I gonna be?
Who are you gonna be at the end
in
of the
that
day?
grocery store? Who am I gonna be? You know, in that traffic jam.
No, you're not lying. I didn't think about that.
Who am I gonna be when I go to this sporting event, or like coaching, or training, or like who am I gonna be when I go to the restaurant? Like, it's like, man, am I gonna be a follower of Jesus, or am I gonna let my pride and my ego and what people think about me, is that what's gonna rule me, or is man, I'm a follower of Jesus. Like let that rule me. Period. Yeah,
that's it. That's what I'm saying. Like once you get to there where it's just I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. Period.
Yeah, because he didn't make me fast. Like.
But you can that thing.
Just a little bit.
But no, like for real, once you get to that point where it's just like I'm all about him, like it's all for you, like no matter what, like that's it. That's my life. That's why we were created. Yeah. That's the only way we can even live that way is through him. So living a life of worship, audience of one, like we keep saying, like just locked in on God.
Yeah.
And the Bible talks about it 1,000 times. Read your word, guys, because it's gonna tell you what to do.
Yeah, that is true.
It's gonna tell you what to do. For real.
That's very true. The word is reading you before it reads.
It's gonna make it very clear
Yeah.
for what to do. I mean, I'm not saying every single question you have in life is gonna be answered, because it's not that way. But for the major things about living your life, the Bible talks about it all. Just trust it. Don't go into it reading the Bible trying to get out what you want out of it.
Yeah.
Go into it trying to get the wisdom that the Lord is offering you through what the word already says. It's not going to say nothing they never said, and it ain't going to mean nothing they never meant. So, it's not going to switch up. God cannot change. Just lock in, bro. I feel like I've been a lot more like into like really studying the Bible and like learning different like the Hebrew and stuff and like what things really meant. And it's actually really cool, right? I can hold you. The stories in the Bible is top tier, bro. There's not a single show ever made that compares it. Until you start, don't even argue with me.
100%.
Until you start reading your Bible and get into some of these stories, ain't nothing like it, bro. Not a single thing, nothing like that, John.
That is very true. That is very
it's
true.
Spicy too. I ain't gonna hold you. No, like for real, it's spicy, bro. You got baby mamas. You got brothers trying to kill you. You got
it all.
You got it all. Like it's spicy. That's really the only thing I can think of. That thing's spicy.
No, that's very true. I'm thinking of a story, but I'm not gonna go down that. I'm thinking of a story right now that can easily be a Netflix show. VeggieTales has done us justice. Putting it in.
They was holding it down for a minute.
But they was, making the kids, making it for the kids.
They still got some jams in there, though.
That is true. That is true. But now I want to, so we don't make the first mistake that we did. I want to wrap up with it. We're gonna do a part two. We're gonna do a part two because the part two we're gonna talk about like the practical things that we can do to help us really walk this thing out. Like Daniel was saying, like, man, helping us really walk out. I'm a follower of Jesus, just period. Yeah. And so we're gonna go to part two. We're gonna have part two. Yeah. So make sure you like, subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification. We're gonna continue this, and like I said, the part two we're gonna talk about practical ways how we can walk in this, and some of the maybe challenges, some of the things that we have to work through, and put some verses on this that we can go back to talk about. But part two coming your way. We appreciate y'all tuning in. This is part one of the Anomaly Podcast, episode 2.
Yes, sir.
We'll hopefully
Hopefully
see you at part two. That being said, peace out.
Peace.